Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name is Travis.
And I'm Patrick.
And hope you got a lot of notes prepared for our movie that we're doing today, Patrick.
Yeah, about that. See, the dog got my notebook? Does that work still?
Yeah, dog got your podcast notes?
Yes, that's it.
That's okay. Well, I guess since that's the case, we'll just talk about some comic book heroes.
Oh, dear God. Well, if it's Dark Helmet, I'm good. He's a comic book hero, right?
Did they ever make Spaceball comics?
Oh, I'm sure there's Spaceball, the comic.
Yeah, probably. It is merchandising, so.
If nothing else, in the movie itself, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I think we're going to talk about some random act of heroism and the person tied to that.
Yeah, so listeners, we're going to just keep this like free-flowing, like just a discussion on characters. I pulled up IGN's top 100 comic book heroes list, and I don't know when this was published, but
1972.
Yeah. I think it's fairly recent, but so we're just going to use a random number generator, and we'll talk about a hero for a while, and we'll probably keep these. We're trying to do some new type of episodes. So this will be one kind. We might do some other types of episodes like we used to do with where we would rank the villains and do stuff like that. So this is just going to be kind of an experimental thing, and we'll talk about whatever random hero we get for a while, and then if we still have time, we'll talk about another one. We'll just keep it all random and just conversational, and hope you like it.
A little jazzy rift kind of
episode. And not that it matters, but this will kick off, I guess, the official season 2 of the podcast. I'm basically, like, as far as listeners, as far as your experience goes, nothing should change, because I'm just doing that so that I can keep all the episodes sorted through iTunes and all the back end stuff. Everything will now be numbered sequentially. So if we do trailer episodes or like this type of episode or our normal movie review, they're all going to be in the same number, and just continuing where we left off with like the last movie review. So again, nothing changes for you, the listener, but everything will just be in order in iTunes or wherever you download.
Me worried, though, because that was a really long first season.
Yeah.
Okay.
This season's gonna run for like three more years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure I understand what I'm in store for.
Yeah.
All right.
So let me pull up my random number generator. Beep boop bop bop boop beep. Okay. Number 58.
Ooh,
so
middle
I go.
Of the road hero. All right.
What's that?
Middle of the road hero.
Yeah. It's a good place to start, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like number 58 in this list is Beast. So Marvel Comics character Beast.
Yes, the blue guy, right?
Yeah, the blue guy.
Okay. I was like, oh crap, I have no idea who that is. And I was like, wait, X-Men, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
First appearance in X-Men number 1 of September 1963. But he was not a blue guy back then. He was just a big guy. He kind of looked like a green Hulk.
Oh,
a lot of times,
I was
like
picturing Juggernaut for some reason, like a sort of a roundy looking head and stumpy. But...
Yeah, I mean, he just had big features, like big, huge mitts, big feet, but not like a super tall guy, just big. But they would always dress him in like civilian, hat and coat. He still well dressed. But yeah,
Okay.
originally, yeah, it wasn't blue. He would later turn himself blue. I think in the maybe early 70s,
Oh, okay.
experimenting on himself to try and remove his mutant gene, and then that that went poorly, and he like woke up blue and more animal like.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I
So
like Beast. They do the thing with him like he's super intellectual and stuff like so
yeah.
it's kind of meant to be you're not expecting him to be super intelligent based on the way he's more in combat or in when he's in action he's very physical and all brute strength and all that stuff but he still has the mind of a genius sort of thing so
Yeah. I always thought his superpower was kind of weak.
okay.
Like, he basically is for lack of a better word, a really smart gorilla, essentially.
Yeah, I mean kinda
Like he's got that same kind of strength and agility. It seems
right
like.
that's yeah I think that's
So,
his mutant power essentially is that agility and strength and that sort of stuff but it's kind of I'm glad they changed him at a certain point and made him the big blue hairy animal like character because I just don't know how much you could do with just a strong guy.
yeah.
I think he works better as and it's nice that they called him Beast from the start.
Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah. Um, as far as I always liked him in the X-Men animated series
Yeah.
because he had a good voice cast for him, just a very intellectual sort of voice to him and everything, and he was the team scientist. So.
Yeah, I kind of wish they didn't have Kelsey Grammer do the voice later.
Oh, really? I think it totally works.
It weirds me out because I know it's Kelsey Grammer, so
Yeah.
it's like I can't like it's just the recognizable voice that kind of messes with me.
I think that worked for me. I mean, it felt close enough to that animated series voice. Just that hyper intelligent, sound to quality to his voice.
I would say pompous.
Yeah. I don't know if it worked in terms of him playing him physically. Just because, I mean, that movie, the X-Men 3, was most of the physicality of all the characters was very like a lot of wire work, very stiff. So
Yeah.
physically, I don't know how well he portrayed the character, but I did like him in the blue makeup and hair and all that stuff. But yeah, Beast is kind of one of those characters. I don't even think they got it right with the later X-Men movies where it was still Nicholas Hoult kind of dressed up and maybe with some CG effects added on top. I think all the fur and stuff may have been CG at that point. But I still think it probably would work better as a fully CG character because I don't think the normal human frame is right for Beast. He should be
Yeah.
wider, more. I think more wide when I think of Beast. Like he's not a tall guy; he's just wide, and that doesn't really work for the normal human frame. But
yeah, I think I liked the newer Beast as a character because I didn't know that he turned himself into the blue Beast.
Yeah.
So it was kind of my introduction to that part of the story.
Yeah.
And I like that actor in the role. But,
sure.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish they would have stuck with it. Like with those movies, it seemed like he could change at will, or maybe he was using some kind of hologram projector. I can't remember. It's been a while since I saw most of those movies, but
I thought he had a serum.
That I don't like the back and forth
that,
with like
started failing on him or something.
Yeah,
like, he was developing it for him and Mystique. Maybe
I think he in the movie in First Class he used Mystique's blood because her power was shape-shifting and changing, so her DNA was maybe kind of the key to being able to change yourself, and so he used her blood, and that's how he he was trying to change himself, experimenting on himself, and that, made it, obviously, in his point of view, made it worse because he doesn't, want to be a mutant. He wants to be a normal guy and everything. But I just kind of wish they would have left it at that. Once he changed, I think it should be pretty much permanent. Even characters like, I've been reading a lot of old comics through that Marvel, their digital comic app.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised at how many times like the Thing turns human.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of get tired of that being used as a story point, I guess. So that's what I think. I like.
I think it's just an easy way to depict struggle with yourself.
Yeah. If that's the way the characters was set up, like the Hulk, I like that he changes, when he gets angry. Of course, when he was first created, it was like at nighttime he turned into the Hulk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was like
I'm
a
glad
vampire. Nice. I like
kinda, yeah, more like a werewolf. Yeah.
yeah.
I like if it's set up that way for the character from the start, I'm okay with it. If it's like with the movies, I feel like it's just the actor doesn't want to be in makeup, or the studio doesn't want to pay for CGI, 100% of the time, or they just want to show the actor's face if it's like a contract thing. Like that's the kind of stuff that bugs me when it comes to movies. Like I want to see the comic book character, not necessarily the actor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't care if they don't want to, sit through makeup, or the company doesn't want to pay for CGI or whatever all the time. But
yeah, I felt like there was a common thread with X-Men. Like they were always struggling with who they were.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
I know in the older X-Men movies, like Rogue was like that. Rogue wanted her powers like taken away, basically, because she couldn't get busy with a boy without putting him in a coma.
Yeah.
But so I always felt like the X-Men had the storylines that were more struggle related, so I kind of let them pass with the whole wishy-washy nature of Beast.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Struggle is definitely I think the key factor with X-Men.
And I like the fact that he screwed it up worse.
Yeah.
Like he made it way worse. Like he didn't realize how good he had it until he started growing fur and became blue.
I kind of like that aspect. You're punished when you're trying to tamper with what I guess nature has made, has decided for you, sort of thing.
And if he was so smart, why would he mess with a mutated gene system anyway?
Yeah,
like you're just asking.
I think it's a little it's a little hubris, like thinking that he was smart enough to, I guess, to fix himself, and
Yeah, I just I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a mad genius, so I'm surprised he actually did what he did.
Yeah.
At least he doesn't come across that way. Maybe the comic book's different, but
yeah. They did something really cool more recently with the Beast character in the X-Men comics, and there was some problem that they needed to solve. I can't remember what it is now, and present day Beast's solution was to send himself back to the past. Like, so he basically went back to the early X-Men days when it was just Cyclops and Jean and Beast and Angel and Iceman, like back in the 60s. So, he goes back, he talks to, I think he just talks to himself, young Hank McCoy, and convinces the team to come to the future because he needed their help. Oh, it was Cyclops had just kind of gone bad and killed Professor X. So Cyclops had become a villain, basically.
Oh.
So he needed the young, the former version of Cyclops to come forward and basically convince, angry Cyclops to, get his shit together. And then basically once they were here, they just kind of didn't want to return to the past because it was kind of like, well, let's just hang out here for a while. And it's a great concept because it's like you can keep those original characters here in the future as long as you want, because you can always send them to the past and to the moment they left, so nothing would change or whatever. So I really like that idea. But it was everyone kind of when everyone found out what Beast had done, it was kind of, he almost became a villain, not a true villain, but he was kind of shunned a little bit for doing that. But
honestly, I thought you were going to say he went back in time to tell himself not to turn himself blue.
Well, that was definitely a cool conversation that they had. Like, so I'm blue.
Yeah, I'm sure that was question number one of the young version.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. One idea I had as far as when we talk about these characters like this, like, I think it'd be fun to fan cast. Like, who would you, let's say, well, I mean, in this case, Marvel now has X-Men and they're definitely going to make X-Men movies. So who would you cast as Beast?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. Wow. I'm trying to think of somebody that's physically imposing enough.
Yeah. And I mean, you could go, like I said, go full CGI. And so essentially it's just a voice cast, or maybe a real actor before he turns himself. But, once he's the Beast, like he's just CGI or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go voice, I'm going to go controversial. I'm trying to think of somebody that can do like a pompous voice. And I'm going to go Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, that's really good.
He could pull off a voice, and
I think he's even got decent physicality. I think like he's not a huge guy. He's kind of fit. I think like no, that's, I really like that. I was thinking like who sounds really nerdy and really intellectual, and I kept just Patton Oswalt is just the only person that. But I don't think he's the right voice. I think he's a little too nerdy, but for some reason I just couldn't get him out of my head. I really like that Seth MacFarlane idea. That's really solid.
Yeah, it could backfire because again, he could end up sounding like Stewie Griffin or something.
Yeah.
So, but I feel
but
like
even
he
just
could pull it off, just not use one of those voices.
I think just his normal speaking voices really would work. I really like him in the Orville, the Fox, Star Trek show, basically. And just his normal speaking voice, I think, would work for Beast.
Yeah.
Man, that's great. I don't have one better for that.
Knocked it out of the park first time.
Yeah, you did, man.
Beginner's luck. It's all downhill now, baby.
Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts on Beast?
No, not really. I'm surprised I had that much on Beast.
You want to do one more?
Sure.
All right. Let me go back to Computron 3000 for another number. All right. Ooh, number 99.
Oh, wow. Okay. Will I know this?
Practically scraping bottom of the barrel here. And who is... Okay, Wasp.
Wasp. Oh, Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, her first appearance. Her first appearance is Tales to Astonish number 44 from June of 1963.
Oh, okay.
The one thing about like reading older Avengers comics with her is that she is purely just there to stroke Hank Pym, Ant-Man's ego. Like, she just fawns all over him. She's just like, she's younger, which always seems really creepy in those original comics. And she's just like hanging on every word. She's just the, lovesick girl that like looks up to him sort of thing. And I feel like I read some of the Tales to Astonish issues where, her origin and everything. And it's like her father is someone that worked with Hank Pym, and then he gets killed, and so she wants to avenge his death or find out what happened, and Ant-Man helps her with that, and then once they've either caught the killer or whatever the situation was. She gets a taste for the lifestyle and doesn't want to give it up, but still is just very, like I said, has a kind of a schoolgirl crush on Hank Pym that just never doesn't read well now. It probably didn't read well then, but no one probably cared about.
Yeah. So is that Michelle Pfeiffer's character in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's playing Janet Van Dyne. I'm okay with how they did it in the movies with, introducing the Wasp from the past as just like a flashback. You don't know who it is, and then you find out she got trapped in that weird dimension for however long. I really like that.
Yeah, for way too long, but time is screwed up in there. But she's still an old lady. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one's got me confused, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, see, I'm obviously not going to be the comic book source on any of this, but
sure.
I know the Wasp from, like, obviously the movies that came out recently, and then I also know the Wasp from Superhero Girls, I think it's called. It's like DC Superhero or not DC. Oh, that's gonna annoy the crap out of me.
Does Marvel have like a?
Now that I think about it,
cartoon?
It is kind of jacked up because it is DC. So is that Wasp?
No, it might be someone similar, but definitely not this character.
Must be somebody else. It's similar, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's more B related than Wasp.
Okay.
It's like a short cartoon that my daughter watches. It's got like Wonder Woman and Supergirl, and Batgirl as like teenagers in a superhero high school.
I wonder who they might. Maybe it's is it? Maybe they gender swapped Firefly.
I wonder if they made her up. Jeez.
Okay.
But it made me think of Wasp. But I guess she is more B
related. Yeah. Wasp is one of those, like, I'm looking at an image of her. She's kind of known for like her costume changes, and in those early days, like, she was the Avengers costume designer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So she was Edna Mole?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
But I love, like, her look. She's got, I think one of her classic looks is basically a black kind of jump bodysuit or whatever with this yellow pattern on the front that's, I don't know, I guess it's Wasp. I guess it's supposed to evoke a Wasp type idea, but it's just kind of like, looks like a stinger, I guess, kind of runs down the front of her costume. That looks really cool. So, but she's had several other costumes throughout the years. But yeah, she's got a lot of good looks, I think, that work for her.
And it was Bumblebee.
Bumblebee, okay.
That's what I was thinking of as Wasp. Wasp-Bee, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I said DC. I'm like, wait, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Jeez. So yeah, all I know is from the movie. I don't know from any other source.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm reading a lot of old comics, so I'm reading a lot of Wasp from back then. But after that, like, I've not read a ton of Wasp, storylines, or I don't have a lot of experience with her in the comics other than just knowing basics about the character.
So is she considered like a sidekick, like Robin?
Initially, yeah. But she is a founding member of the Avengers.
Okay.
Because she was there at the start. But yeah, kind of started out as a sidekick, and then became a hero in her own right, I'm sure, years later or whatever. But I don't have a lot on Wasp, and it might be hard to fan cast someone like this who does have a very current actress playing.
Yeah.
I mean, with Evangeline Lilly playing, I guess, her daughter, and then Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer is kind of an interesting choice to play Janet Van Dyne. I think because we knew once they decided we're going to see Wasp in a sequel, and she's going to be age appropriate to Michael Douglas. Like, I kind of thought, why not just cast Catherine Zeta-Jones? since, not that it matters, but in the comics, Janet Van Dyne always has had like this short, kind of pixie cut black hairdo.
Okay.
And again, not that hair color matters really when you're filming this stuff, but and I just thought like Catherine Zeta-Jones would make sense, being that she is Michael Douglas's wife, you know? Like, so instantly when they said that they were going to cast someone to play the older Janet Van Dyne, I thought, well, that's perfect, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm perfectly happy with Michelle Pfeiffer. I haven't watched that movie a lot, Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I don't remember a lot of her performance, but
yeah, I remember
totally thought she did
it.
Yeah, totally fine. So
I was happy to see Michelle Pfeiffer again.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
She kind of had...
I was just going to say, when you said the description of like short brunette hair, I was thinking, what's her face? Terry Hatcher.
Okay.
I could see her kind of in that spot, but I mean, Catherine Zeta-Jones would have been perfect since, you know, they actually are husband and wife.
Yeah. I think if you sticking to that, like basing it on the comics, I like, do you know Morena Baccarin from, she's the girlfriend in the Deadpool movies. She was on Firefly, and I think that's, maybe she did another series after Firefly. It was like that reboot of, I think it was called V, where they were like aliens or something.
Okay.
She had a short black hairdo in that. I've seen her several times over the year in that short pixie cut type hairstyle, and she's just a very slight, you know, woman, kind of petite, you know, and I think that might work a little bit better if they were going to do like a flashback movie, you know, with Wasp. I think she wouldn't really match up with like Michelle Pfeiffer necessarily, but that's kind of someone who I pictured more so than Michelle Pfeiffer. But
okay,
yeah, I don't have a lot on Wasp. I think as far as powers go, you know, Ant-Man created a costume for her, and I want to say it got really weird. Like, I think he altered her DNA so that when she shrank, she grew antenna out of her head, which I think they've done away with that. Okay. Grew antenna, and then I think grew wings out of her back. Like, I don't think it's a mechanical device that she wears. I think it's part of her, you know, essentially her physical, you know, it's a physical feature, not a.
So she like morphs.
Yeah, but I think only when she shrinks. Like, I don't think it works when she is full size. Yeah, and then there's some sort of like she can shoot stinger type powers out of her hands. I think that one could be like a weapon more so than a physical power. I can't remember.
So I guess in this case the Pym particles or whatever you want to call them, kind of are like the gamma rays of the Hulk, but
yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Yeah, he transforms as well. So
yeah,
I guess they're going along those lines or something.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think I have much else on Wasp.
All right.
What do you think? One more, or we call it good?
Yeah, we could do one more.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so maybe do. Yeah, we got number 22.
Ooh, man, we were back end, middle, and front end now.
Yeah, let's see who 22 is. Ooh, Professor X.
Oh, I know that one.
It's an all Marvel.
Yeah, no
panel this time.
Okay.
Initial thoughts on Professor X?
Shiny head. I didn't realize he lost his hair. Like, I just thought he was born with no hair because his mind was so powerful and vibrating.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure when he lost his hair. He was
same with the paralyzed legs. Like, I didn't realize that was an accident. I thought it was just part of the, he couldn't be physically imposing, so his mind took over.
Yeah, I think it was a character called Lucifer, like not the devil Lucifer, but a character called Lucifer. I think that paralyzed him in the comics.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Professor X is a weird one because cinematically, I've always loved the Patrick Stewart version of the character. And I even remember old Wizard magazine. They used to run a feature, every month they would basically fan cast, a comic book movie. And Patrick Stewart was always like the top choice for Professor X. It was him, maybe Ben Kingsley, but bald guys, yeah, because no one back then could think of like who isn't bald, but we could make bald, and now it would be like Bryan Cranston, but it's weird because now I've learned more about Professor X over the years, and he is a horrible person. Like he's just a shitty person. He totally works. First, not impression, but first time seeing Professor X would have been the animated Fox X-Men cartoon. Same with Beast. Yep. In there he was fine. He was kind of a nothing character. I mean, sometimes they would, have storylines centered around him and him and Magneto. But he was just kind of bland, I thought then. And then, I really loved the Patrick Stewart version of the character. And he was, I thought, really interesting there, but never...
He was one-dimensional in that.
Yeah.
Just the wholesome father that...
Yeah.
And, or school marm, whatever you want to call him.
Sure. The headmaster. Yeah. But it's been interesting for me going back to these old X-Men comics that I've been reading, and it starts out like maybe the first issue, because the first issue, you're meeting all the characters, and Jean Grey appears at the school for the first time, and it's kind of weird because like all the boys are fawning over her, of course, and then I think a couple of issues go by, or maybe it's the same issue, and you find out that Professor X is like, oh, how do I love this girl, she's perfect. I mean, it's essentially shows you that Professor X is in love with Jean Grey, and keep in mind, like, I think the oldest X-Men character at the time is like 16. I think Scott Summers is 16, and she might be 14, maybe 15. Regardless, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And it's just really weird and creepy. And from that point, it's like, it's hard to come back from that. So much so that one of the major Professor X related storylines from the 90s was called Onslaught. And it's like a psychic, Professor X's psyche splits kind of, and it adopts some of Magneto's personality, and it kind of creates this psychic being of pure evil. But essentially it's a blended version of Professor X and Magneto, and it just starts, like he's impossible to beat, and he's just like, destroying a bunch of the X-Men universe and stuff. And even in then, they call back to the fact that when like Professor X was in love with Jean Grey, so it's like it's something that they haven't done away with that idea.
That's weird.
It's real weird. I have, and just like a lot of the stuff he does in those original issues, it's just, man, you're just an asshole.
He was raising a child army. I mean,
yeah, but like wiping people's minds. Yeah. Completely, whenever it suits his needs. There's a lot of that stuff going on. So, I guess
I prefer the Patrick Stewart version.
I know that's the thing. It's hard reading some of these old comics when you think Patrick Stewart. Kind of gentle, kind of just a nice like grandfatherly type figure. I feel like in X-Men 3 they tried to make you not like Professor X because it's revealed that he altered Jean Grey by, he sees that she has this dark, Phoenix type power, or something. She's got this power that can't be controlled, so he tries to lock that part of her mind away. And I guess he's maybe always, some of his psychic energy is always devoted to keeping that locked away, I think.
Okay.
Which is kind of a cool idea, that like he has to concentrate at least one little % of his power, like has to be keeping that in check. But like just that alone, altering someone's mind like that just to prevent them from becoming powerful is kind of interesting. They kind of stole that, I think, from Umbrella Academy.
Oh yeah,
kind of that idea, locking up her powers essentially. But
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Professor X is one of those characters that I never cared about until he was on screen, and then never liked the character once I started to actually read stuff with him. So just kind of one of those weird characters that is super important, but not someone that I like.
I thoroughly enjoyed him in Logan, where he's got Alzheimer's and like
that's
he can't control his powerful mind anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like him later on in Logan that was just awesome. That was a great performance.
Because it's like, what does happen when somebody with that kind of power starts slipping?
Yeah,
like if he.
Yeah, I love the way they toyed with he can just, if he gets into one of these fits that he has, can just kind of like they showed in earlier movies where they want him to be able to destroy everyone's mind, and it's kind of what's happening to it now, just on his own. So,
it's interesting, I thought.
And I do like the James McAvoy performance in the especially in First Class and what was the sequel to that? Days of Future Past. Yeah.
And we'll just not think about the third one.
Yeah, or I haven't even seen the fourth one. So
I saw the third one, and I haven't seen the fourth one.
Right, same here.
Based on the third one.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoyed the first two of the new X-Men movies.
Yeah, me too.
And the X-Men and Deadpool.
Yeah. That scene where they're walking through the hallway, I think, and it's like, you think there'd be more of you guys? I'd see more of you guys or something, and they're all hiding behind the door.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
I don't have anything else on Professor X. We could fan cast it if you have anybody in mind.
That's hard.
I was thinking earlier when I said Headmaster, I thought Jude Law as Headmaster, as Dumbledore in the newer movies. Like, he kind of struck me as someone that I could see playing that, likable but kind of dark. If if you dig into his past, he's done some shady things. I really think that Jude Law could do that. I mean, it wouldn't work in the current. I don't think we have to worry about like the current continuity or anything, because he is in Captain Marvel as a villain. So, spoilers. But I still think I think Jude Law would be my Professor X.
That's a good one. I can totally see that.
I guess rumors are going around as far as like them looking for actors for for whatever they're going to do with mutants in the MCU, and the rumor is that they're going with because Professor X and Magneto have always been kind of based on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, as far as like they want the same things, but they go about them in completely different directions. One wants peace, one wants peace, but will go about it militantly or whatever. So,
poor Malcolm X.
I think it was like Denzel Washington for Magneto, and then like basically the idea, the rumor is that they're going to cast two black actors as Professor X and Magneto. So that could be interesting. I mean, it's totally a character that the race doesn't doesn't matter. You can.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I think
when you said that Martin Luther King character could be played by Jordan Peele, because I saw him do a like this epic rap battle thing online.
Okay.
And he played Martin Luther King. It was awesome.
Oh, okay.
He had like the
right
inflection,
on.
like that preacher style voice.
Yeah.
Like down perfect. I think that would be awesome, but I don't know if he could pull off something serious though.
Well, doesn't he do that Twilight Zone show? I feel like
that's true.
I feel like he's more of a host on that. I haven't seen any of it, so I don't know. I've just
It's always been like in a comedy as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
But
cool.
The only person I could think of for Professor X now would be what's his face? It's kind of a weird one, but what the hell's his name? I think it's Colin Farrell. Dude from In Bruges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just could see him.
Colin Farrell
as Professor.
I'd be okay with that. He can pull off bald. He was Bullseye in Daredevil.
Yeah. Didn't even think about that. I was trying to think of somebody that's got like a darkness to them, but could pull off, being wholesome at the same time, possibly.
Yeah, I think that's the key to the character. On the surface, he needs to seem pleasant, but underneath the surface, he can just be a real bastard.
Yeah. I think he could do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, cool. Let's probably put a pin in it there. Yeah. Okay. I've taken notes of who we talked about this episode. So, if we get these same numbers again in the future when we do this, we'll just go to the next one or whatever. So,
okay. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. So hopefully, listeners, you enjoyed it as well. And we're not going to do this like every other episode. Our next episode will be our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review. And then after that one, we may do another type of, I don't know, experimental episode, maybe trailers, maybe one of these, maybe something else. So, but we will do this again, and we'll pick up kind of where we left off here. So I guess let us know over in the Facebook group what you think. How do you feel about Beast, Wasp, and Professor X over in the Real Comic Heroes League of Citizens Facebook group?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know who you'd cast or.
Yeah, fan cast them. Yeah, let them. Yeah. Do you feel like they should be higher or lower in the list as far as like where they rank? So we had Beast at number 58, Wasp at 99, and Professor X at 22. Personally, I could see Professor X maybe not being so close. He's more of a middle of the road. I get it. He's, like I said, he's an important character. His powers are, he's very powerful. So, but as far as like liking the character, he'd be lower in my list. But
yeah, now that I know a bit more about the past dealings you had.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's gonna do it.
All right.
Stay safe out there, citizens. Don't let Professor X wipe your mind.
He's the Bill Cosby of X-Men.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.